Hi guys, Andreas Sonic Mainliner here with a video about equipment. Um, More specifically, I'm going to be talking about phono stages, and it's been something that has been bugging me for a while, and has made me fume over it. Well, not fume, but you know what I mean. It's something that sort of gives it basically embodies what gives hi-fi enthusiasts or audiophiles or whatever you want to call them a bad name. So basically what I have discovered is there's two sort of ranks that that have been divided online and offline and since forever it seems. There's like the audiophiles that are like, oh yeah, this magic cable does magic things, and I put the puck underneath the cable, and then the mid-range sort of comes out, and they talk bizarre terms and they say bizarre things, and people laugh at them. And then you have the other side that is like, people that are into engineering and physics, and they say, no, this is not right because this is like, according to that, is the same, and everything is the same. And then you have everybody else in the middle that are like, okay, like a tennis match going back and forth, and some people sort of align with one side and other people align with the other side. But there is a truth to both sides. That's my take on it, and I will talk about other things in a later video. But today I'm talking about phono stages. Now, this my sort of investigation in it arose from the fact that, first of all, because I upgraded my system, I had to buy a separate phono stage, and I had to find out a little bit more about it. Usually the way that I did it is I would get a turntable and just hook it up to the phono preamp, and job done basically on the amplifier that I had. In this case I had options. So when you have options, there is, you need to investigate a little bit more so that you can understand what you're doing. Anyway, I decided to go with a Primaire, or however it's pronounced, RR32, yes, RR32, which is a really nice phono stage. And I also bought the Sumiko Bluepoint Special Evo 3, which is, that's a long name, which is an MC cartridge, because I always had MMs. This is an MC cartridge, but it's a high output, because I was afraid that the low output, it might not match up well, and I just had it in my mind that it might be better to do that. Also, the Sumiko Bluepoint Special 3 was a cartridge that I have been reading about since the early 90s. It was very much revered in the audiophile press in Greece, and I don't know if it was popular outside, although I did read a lot of English hi-fi magazines at the time as well. But in Greece it was fairly revered. So it was like, oh yeah, you know what, I'm getting the turntable that I always dreamed of, which is the Gyro SC, and like I will get the cartridge I want and all that. So I hooked everything up and I put it on to play, and it sounded really good. It sounded fantastically well, and but it was always bugging me that I had to turn it a little bit higher. It's always the case, by the way. It's always the case that the turntable input will always require a little bit more gain, if you like, from the volume knob. There is a reason for that, and but then I discovered that there is also a setting for inside the phono stage where you can increase the gain. So you can have, like, I think that it gave something like 42 dBs, a standard of 40, and then you could do with some dip switches, you could up it to 45. And when I did that, it was even better. It sounded better than before. So it's got me started. I started thinking, it's like, hey, hang on, what's going on here? And there was another conversation as well that happened some time ago with none other than uh, Anthony Camplone, who is, he is an audiophile, and he was telling me about step-up transformers. I was like, so Anthony, you said that you bought this step-up transform. I don't remember what the conversation, where the conversation started, and he was like, yeah. This is a step-up transformer, and when you hook it up between the phono stage, and I don't know where topologically where it fits. My guess is that it's between the cartridge. No, actually, because it has RCA, so it's after the phono stage. You put a step-up transformer, and then that connects to either your preamp or amplifier, and that makes it sound better. So my experience was that when I upped the gain on my phono stage, it sounded livelier, it sounded better, because usually, let's be fair about this, louder is better. We perceive louder as better, and a lot of times when you see remastering and like, oh yeah, this has been remastered, blah blah blah, usually what they do is that they up the gain, they make it a little bit louder, and things become a little bit clearer, so that it just how our hearing works, really. So I was thinking of doing an upgrade. Not thinking about an upgrade. It's been like a year and a half that I've been into this, so it's been, I've gone through different iterations. And no, actually what happened was that I've looked into that and I was like, oh, hang on, there must be something that, comes into play with this. This is like, it's quite significant, it seems. So cartridges have usually three values that are being advertised. So it's impedance, capacitance, and gain, and basically output. So they give you an output. And I will not talk about impedance and capacitance because they are fairly standard. And most phono stages, you can set it. It's like 147K or whatever, and impedance, I think some of them have, but most of them fall within one specific category. So it's like it doesn't really make any difference. However, sensitivity is something that, although advertised, nobody explains what you need to do. So I came across this article from Stereophile, and let me give you the short of it, the short version of what I want to say. So let's say you buy your new sports car, you pay a lot of money for it, and it has some specs around it. It says like, okay, yeah, you can do like 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 if you're looking at, if you're using kilometers. 4.5 seconds, yay, that is amazingly fast. And then top speed is like 180 miles an hour or whatever. And you go to the shop at the dealer and you get the car and you're like, oh yeah, well, I'm so happy. And then you ride out and you test it out a little bit, and you discover that you cannot do more than like 8 seconds for 0 to 60, and the top speed is really limited to 120, and you're a bit disappointed. So you go back to the dealership and you're like, you know what, this is a really nice car here, but in the spec sheet it says, it says here 4.5 and 180, and like, I'm not getting that. Well, what's the story here, And they say, yeah, hang on 1 second. You know what? You're absolutely right. This car is spec'd to do that, but do you see that thing over there? It's like, where? Like underneath the steering wheel. What? What? Yeah, there are 3 pedals there. Yeah, I'm well aware. So the one on the right Yeah, that's a gas pedal. Yeah. Well, you see, it doesn't go all the way. So we can sell you another, an add-on for X amount of money that will enable you to press a pedal all the way through, and that means that you can get that 4.5 seconds 0 to 60 and 180, and that is what step-up transformers are. All right. So there is an article on Stereophile, and also there was a uh, who was it? James Buttery. James Buttery bought a new preamplifier, Phono preamp. He was saying that, oh, you know what, my gain, and you need to put the gain as low as possible. And it's like, I put it at 40, and it's like, no, you don't put it as low as possible. That is not what you do. So I've been going on for 11 minutes now. It's maybe you're interested in this. Who knows? So basically, what happens is that you need for your phono stage to be able to deliver 1 volt to the RCA inputs on your preamplifier or amplifier in order to be able to get the full potential of your amp, pretty much. Now, 1 volt is obviously, sort of median value. It can be higher or it might be lower. It depends on the sensitivity of the actual inputs. That's a completely different story usually, and we'll not get into that because you will get different equipment perform differently with different, and that's where the differences in sound are, because they have different electrical qualities. But back to phono stages. Most MC, specifically MC, because I've done a bit of research on it, the majority of MC preamp phono stages deliver a gain of 60 dB. There is a calculation that you can do, which is from Stereophile magazine, and you can look it up. It's how much gain for MC calculation. There's an article that explains exactly how it works and how you can do it. If you have a smartphone, it's very easy because you can have a calculator that is scientific, and you can put in log in there because that is required. And given the output of the MC cartridge, you can calculate how much actual gain you require in order to get to that 1 volt output. Obviously, this is very sort of iffy because that 1 volt output is calculated on a specific range of frequencies, and that means that you might need more gain for some frequencies and some less gain in other frequencies, and that's how you get differences in sound. And yes, but this is where the analogy with the car comes in, where you get most cartridges having a sensitivity that requires a gain of at least 68 dB to 70 dB, and most phono preamp stages provide 60. Now that is a huge gap. That is 10 dB of gap there, and that's where the step-up transformers come in. So I'm really pissed off with all these guys that are, designing phono stages, knowing that the majority of cartridges out there require 70 dB amplification, provide 60 because reasons, and then because they can actually sell you a step-up transformer. Yeah, why not? I mean, you get an additional piece of esoteric equipment that nobody really understands what it does. It's like you hook it up and it sounds better, and I'm not taking the piss out of anybody. I'm just saying that it's you haven't looked into it, and why would you? But the guys that are writing magazines, the guys that are writing forums, they just take it wholesale, and they're like, yeah, whatever, man. You put the step up transformer, and it's like, yeah, this step up transformer is better than the other one. Bollocks, bollocks. What they should have done is like create a phono stage that provides sufficient gain to drive, low output moving coil cartridges. That's what they should have done. But no, because as I said, you buy another piece of esoteric, audio like wankery, and they're like, oh yeah, I feel my stereo equipment is better because I have more cables. You also have to sell another pair of RCAs as well, which are not cheap, especially if you are in the position where you have an MC cartridge, a phono stage, and presumably preamps and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, what's $300 more, $500 more, plus cables, another 1,000? I don't know. Why not? It's good business, right? So yeah, that's the story behind it. So if you are in the market for buying something, or if you already own something and you're considering a step-up transformer, I would recommend you take your cartridge, you find the specifications, specifically the output, find the article that I'm talking about on Stereophile magazine, do the calculation. It's very easy. It's like for dummies, really, and it gives you the actual gain that is required, and then see what your phono stage provides, because you might be missing out, basically. The problem is that, and it's not that it's going to sound different, but what happens is that as you turn the knob higher in order to get a higher level of sound pressure, you actually are increasing noise in the system. And that is, especially if you have a high-end system or a really good high-resolution system, this does come into play because it will be more audible, and it makes things a little bit more muddled. Now, you can go on the opposite side and provide extra more gain than you actually required, which will introduce distortion. But vast majority of people that are using MC cartridges this time, as we speak, I bet that they are not providing enough gain for their MC cartridge. And to close this all up, that's the reason why I chose to go with Riga. Riga has, first of all, the phono stage is matching the cartridge. I went with an Affetta 2, and the Aria phono stage gives high gain, which is set for the Affetta 2 at 69.8. And this is factory calculated. It's not just random, play with knobs and see what works best. There are some other phono stages that can also provide, gain as high as that. One of them that comes to mind is the Trichord Diablo, and that can provide, I think, up to 72 dBs. Another one that is potentially contentious because it contains a digital part is the PS Audio one, which is expensive, but it has variable gain, which is amazing. And you can also digitize vinyl, although I don't know. I mean, it's like a little bit yeah. Anyway, that's another one. There are some that are very expensive, and you wouldn't even go there. What else have I found that can actually deliver that kind of gain? And I'm talking most people need that. And I get it. If you have a cartridge that is ultra low, like 0.15 or anything like that, chances are you will not be able to deliver the kind of gain that you need. Oh yeah, i-Fi, which is a very reasonably priced one, and the reviews are amazing. i-Fi gives something like 72, and 72 might sound a lot, but I guess that well, no, I think that most MC cartridges would require something in the range of 70 or 72, 69, 72, I would say. And if it's 2 dB more, it's not going to be detrimental and distortiony as much as it would be noisy if you just, put in 60 dB. And same applies for MM cartridges, by the way. Not all MM cartridges, phono stages deliver the required. You might need, obviously because the output is higher, you need something in the range between, usually they are around 40. My guess is that you need something around from 44 to 48. And that makes a big difference. 3 dBs is a big difference. 1 dB is not a big difference because it scales differently. Anyway, that's my rant video about step-up transformers, and just, yeah. And I'm not pissed off with the people that buy them, because at the end of the day, they do what they say they do. They do make things sound better. What I'm pissed off with is everybody else that has been writing professionally for all these years, and nobody pointed out that, hey guys, you know what? This thing does this. Maybe we should cut down on the middleman and get a phono stage that actually does the job properly. That's all I'm saying. See you guys around.